Raig agus tá cáil nach beagar na Mary Janes.
Something to say about a running for fame, but I ain't got the mood, so I will be talking in vain.
Ach ní raibh mix sásta gur éirigh riamh leis an mana an chála bhí sa chinúntóir bheith aimsiú.
I remember being at the last Mary Jane's gig and having a big fight with him and saying, "What are you doing?" You know, and he's like, "I'm just fed up. I can't take this. I can't take this thing not working out anymore. I'd rather not play than to be sort of, you know, it's one thing after another, man. It's one thing after another."
Guess what was next? Like we're taking all of our hopes and our dreams, and we put them out in the sun. They cut us a beacon for everyone who couldn't achieve.
Le towndí má, chur mic deir le na Mary Janes agus thug sé faoi job le don chiadú riamh an a héal, ag obair mar heachtar a rothair timpeall ar bhlá clia.
Started out on a push bike, I think.
Yeah. Then he thought he could make more money if he had a motorbike, so he got a
little small motorbike, yeah. That's what led to his first accident, you know. Which was...
Yeah, a car just came out in front of him and boom, he was thrown up
flying,
in the air.
And he broke his neck, yeah.
Bhí antá ag tam sin mar do méid sé millimeter ar table of a deisian ó table of a clay beag sé marv. Agus spégan dó fanatí plaster bheag 3V.
He couldn't move his head, and it was cast right to his whole chest and his back, and his chin was like this, and he had to just turn that way. You know, he couldn't.
And his ankle was broken. But he said he looked at it in positive ways. His posture would be lovely from being up like this all the time.
Tush gur bheag go bhfuair sé bós an uair sin, gur cheap sé cá mé gacrad go córdam agus go dasaí mu a dhéanamh. Agus dhéan sé gacrad san bhléan in dhéag sin.
Ní dáilm gur raibh mic mar, you know, cynic in a héal ach má bhí sé, you know, níor as aon cynicism ag in an timp sin.
Ba falsúnaí ag gcónaí bhí an ó híh just bhí sim ag spiridáltacht agus Tá cheappa gur rinne sé láidir é an chéad timpis. Bhí na thusan ceol a bhí sé cuma. Just a bheith difriúil agus bhí sé bhd níos dóchasaí is dóí ná bhíoh ribbe sin.
He just changed his whole outlook on life then. He was much happier and he just lived from day to day, and he said if he woke up each day,
it was a bonus, you know,
yeah. So that's when he wrote Heyday.
This is our heyday, baby, and we're not gonna be afraid to shout, 'cause we can make our heyday last forever.
Heyday is dócha an ceann is deise, mar is Jackar bheith bronnach ag éisteach leis. Mar dúirt mic faoi every day being your best day.
Heyday an tárán na cheol mic ar eis ar bmhóthir an cheol a thuair. Bé an rion tidal é ar a chiad EP éanaar a chomá. EP cinúnach dó.
Bhfuil Mike Scott an EP a bhí aige agus hana sé go mór leis. Bhí canál siméidirt a baint leis ar bhealach mar gur bíad aber na waterboys na réalta mór a bhí agange nar thusamide buscail thart ar 96.
You saw the whole of the moon.
The Waterboys were our first fixation as together, you know, our first sort of unified fixation.
Unicorns and cannonballs, palaces and piers, trumpets, towers, tenements, oceans full of tears, flags, rags, ferry boats.
Fuair sé ífrost ó Mike Scott an na Waterboys ag tuairt curadó Chatslow ar túir na Eorpa. Bhí sé ar nós leanamh. Chuir sé léarm agus dúirt sé, do you understand what this means? It's like my idol, Mike Scott himself, sent me an email. Like, not his manager, Mike Scott himself. Like, you know, do you understand this? He was just over the moon.
They were heading to Belgium and Berlin and France, and I was going to finish up in the Olympia. And we were looking forward to going to that,
yeah,
you know.
We really were.
But unfortunately that didn't happen, so.
Nar tháinig siad go dtí Groningen. Chó sé amach ein sé seta dosach agus díal sé an méid just move CDs a díal sé ainithe agus bhí anium réir agus de seans gur ol siad cúpla deoch agus go bunasach sé Simon mar bhí just in Amsterdam le gairid seachtain hin agus mata tú san íseal tíir tá sé, I mean, tá alsúirt cho cuntarteach mar tá canál na tá stoi tá nerd an aspa spáisiú go tá na bíon stairí níos cosúla le dréimerí ná le stairí so bíonn siad an dhéir ach so réchama bhí sé teacht amach as pub go luar maidin agus banú tris leis agus blandal sé ar a cheann.
And about 2 hours later, we got the phone call from the hospital because they'd found, I think they found my phone number in his pocket. So they contacted me and just said, you know, we have a friend of yours, I think, Michael Christopher. Do you think you could contact, you know, necessary people?
So we rang the hospital anyway and to find out, and they said he was unconscious. He was on a life support machine.
San hospital thug an doctor ling quick intensive care unit agus bhí sé ceangata go dtí séideag machine difriúil as siad san a bhí cumad beo é.
It was a tough 2 weeks there, really. We were kind of walking around like zombies, and every morning we went in, we were living on numbers. You know, they were telling us if this number goes up, well, he's improving, or if that goes down, and so on. We went the first thing we look at these numbers, you know.
He breathed, I think, once, one breath or two breaths on his own, because we used to watch these machines, what was happening. And the doctor said, this is good, you know, once if he starts to breathe at all, he'll come around. And we said, this is brilliant. 3 of his friends arrived, Glen and another friend Donald, and then Lisa Hannigan, another singer.
There was a kind of a huge sense for me of, God, should I be here? You know, should I? And they were like, no, you really should, Glenn. You're a mixed friend, and you absolutely need to be here. And I felt really like I wanted to be. I just wanted to be with me mate. That's all.
It's quite an nerve. Bhí an timpish glúsrother aige, you know, tháinig sé, you know, why sin agus bhí sé cargalóir agus cap mis ag an gur an rud céine treis táirúntaach, you know. And sin bhí tuiscin tágam go raibh sais an rud seo bhád níos storíire.
I mean, bhí mar rá lena chéanana bheis ceach leir, thuir sé hána féin, Cat o' Nine Lives. You know, bheis ceach leir.
The lads went home after the first week, Donald and Glen, to do a gig in Vicar Street for him, which I heard was tremendous. You know, everybody was there. It'd probably be like Friday nights, coming Fridays, you know. But that was on a Wednesday night, but that particular night we knew Michael was gone, you know. Top road.
Yeah, they told us that there wasn't anything more they could do for him. He had an infection that had gone through his whole system, and they tried to inject a very strong antibiotic right through, hoping that they'd hit it wherever it was, because they couldn't figure out where it was. But they realised it was in the base of the skull, and there was nothing more they could do.
The doctor said, we're going to take him off the machines, and I says, when can I make up my mind, you know? He says, you don't. We make that decision. I don't know if it's the same here, but no, he says that's his decision to make, you know. But he did agree that we'd do it the next day, Thursday, the day after the gig, and if any of his friends were coming, he'd wait. Doesn't matter how long, you know. So Donald and Glen and Milky arrived, and we told them, you know, and the doctor told me, tell me when you're ready.
It's very nice.
It was a very hard thing to do, to go tell a doctor, okay, I'm ready, you can take my son's life if you like, you know.
The morning that he died, I went in to talk to him, and I said, Mick, you know we love you and we want you back. And but I said, you always made up your own mind, you're strong-willed, you knew what you wanted, and you did what you thought was right. And I said, now you've got to make this decision.